aggression, very common behavior problem, and there's two parts to this because leash aggression is a word that kind of gets thrown around and it's not always aggression. So I break this down into two parts. One is leash aggression. The second part is what I call leash reactivity, and they're different. Now, the first thing I'm going to cover is leash aggression. Okay? Now, what I want to tell you is if you haven't already, please watch the video on fear, because a lot of the stuff that I'm about to go over with leash aggression is in the fear video, and these two things go together. So be sure to watch the fear video for another idea and me explaining this a different way. So leash aggression, I say that because that is what leash aggression stems from. You have your dog on a leash and something scares them. Now, when dogs are scared, they do one of two things. The first thing they try to do is run away. They want to get out of that situation. And if they can't get out of that situation, they have no other choice but to become aggressive, and aggression generally leads to biting. Alright? Leash aggression, well, our dog is on a leash. So when they get scared, when they are afraid, they can't get away. It's physically impossible. And this is how leash aggression becomes, be such a problem. We have to address the underlying fear. Why is the dog afraid? What is the dog afraid of on the leash? Okay? Now, leash aggression and leash reactivity, they're separate. Leash aggression is that the dog is fearful, so he is responding aggressively to try to say, stay away, don't come any closer. That's what the barking, the biting is. He's saying, if you get closer, I'm going to hurt you because you're scaring me and you're leaving me no choice. Leash reactivity is the opposite. Leash reactivity is the dog is so excited to see somebody, so excited to see another dog, they can't control it. So they bark, they howl, they pull on the leash, so they're separate. I'm going to cover leash reactivity at a second, alright? So if that sounds more like your dog, you can skip forward in the video to that part. But for leash aggression, this is your dog will hurt somebody, will hurt something if it continues to get close while they're on the leash, okay? So with leash aggression, what we want to do is basically take that fear and whatever it is that is causing our dog to be so afraid they are becoming aggressive, we want to turn that fear into a positive. Alright, we want to make our dog see that, hey, this thing that is scaring you and is making you want to attack it, it's really not so bad. And we have to do this very slowly, okay? Now, before we get into actually the exercise to solve leash aggression, the first thing that we need to take a look at is our equipment, okay? Because if you're using certain tools, you could actually be making the problem worse. Prong collars or choke chains, for example, the big metal collars, okay? These are one of the leading reasons why dogs develop leash aggression. So often, I'll work with a client, the first question I ask is, well, can I see what you walk them on? And out comes the big huge prong collar. Well, here's what happens with prong collars. We got this nice big metal collar on our dog, and we're walking our dog down the street, and all of a sudden your dog starts to pull, and what happens? He gets choked, pain. Prong collars hurt, it's pain. So he gets pain, and then he loosens up, and then he continues to walk, and he starts to pull again, and because there's pain, he stops pulling. Then he walks again, there's pain, he stops pulling. He's not learning, he's not being trained not to pull, he's not choosing not to pull, he's being forced. You take that prong collar off, try to walk him on a regular collar, he will be pulling you down the street because he's not being taught anything. He's just being forced, alright? So, how does that cause aggression? Well, let's say that every day you take your dog on the prong collar to pick up your kids from school. And what happens? There's tons of kids running around. And every time your dog goes to pull, because he's excited, he sees children. And what happens when he sees children? Ouch, pain. And he pulls again because he's excited, but there's children around, pain. And pretty soon what starts to happen is he starts to associate that, hey, when I see children, they hurt me. Every time I see children, I get hurt. So I better become aggressive. I better keep those children away, because if they get close to me, I'm going to get choked. I'm going to get hurt. So if you have a prong collar, if you're using a choke chain, if you're using anything that causes harm, that causes physical pain like that, we want to immediately get rid of that. And instead, you want to get a harness. Alright? Harness makes it a lot easier to control your dog. Check the products link. I have a link for a front attached harness. Harnesses where the leash hooks on the back are not recommended, because it actually allows your dog to pull more. It makes it easier for your dog to pull. It's going to give you less control. Harnesses where the leash hooks on the chest, here, and it goes behind their back. When the dog goes to pull, it turns them sideways. So it doesn't allow them to pull, especially you people with big dogs. Get a front attached harness, right? And if you're using any kind of collar that causes pain, we want to immediately get rid of that. A lot of the time, just removing that and switching to the harness makes just a world's difference, and it makes the rest of the training so much simpler. Okay, so we're talking about actual aggression here, fear-based leash aggression. The dog is going to hurt somebody. It's going to hurt something if they get close enough to it, because they are afraid, or if that thing gets close enough to them. Okay, so we're going to have our dog on the harness. We're going to work on turning that fear into a positive. How do we actually go about doing this? Well, you'll probably notice that most dogs, or your dog, whatever it is that he's aggressive with, he's not aggressive with everything on leash. Generally, there are triggers. Your dog is aggressive when he sees a cat. The most common thing that is that dogs get aggressive when they see another dog, okay? Or people, skateboards, bikes. Dogs are a super common one. So what we want to do is we want to slowly introduce our dog to whatever, and expose them to whatever is making them react aggressively. But we want to keep them under the threshold where they start to react. And we want to constantly reward them there. So what you're going to need first is we're going to get some very high quality treats. And I'm not talking about dog treats, I mean human food. Food that's good enough for us to eat. Chicken, hot dogs, cheese. Very high quality food. And the only time our dogs are going to get this food is when we're working on leash aggression, when we're working on addressing their fear. Remember I said I want to turn the fear into a positive. Food is the highest reward there is for dogs. So we're going to take advantage of that. Nothing is more important to a dog than eating and surviving, and food is what they need. So we're going to take food, and these are tiny pieces, okay? If you take a hot dog, you're going to cut it down in half, and then you're going to cut those two halves in half. That's how tiny pieces you're making. It's not about the size of the treat your dog's getting. It's about the fact that he's getting a treat, and the fact that he's getting repetitions and multiple treats, okay? So this is what we're going to do first. We're going to get very high quality treats. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to try to expose our dog to whatever is making them aggressive. A very common thing that I work with people with is their dogs have dog aggression. So what do? We go to the dog park. And this will be the dog park over here, okay, inside the fence. Lots of dogs running around. And what we're going to do with our dog that has leash aggression is we're going to start out all the way over here, 100 feet away. Because over here, where we are with our dog, that's us with our little dog there, right? When our dog is 100 feet away from the dog park, he's able to look at dogs and remain under the threshold. He doesn't react, right? He still is calm. And that is the spot we need to find. He is calm at 100 feet away. If we were to get any closer, he's going to react. So we find that spot. At 100 feet away, what we're going to do is we're just going to stand there. And while our dog is calm, every time he sees another dog, we're going to give him a treat. And this is while he's calm. He's under that threshold. He's not reacting. He looks over, he sees a dog, treat, good boy. He looks over, sees a dog, treat, good boy. Looks over, sees a dog, he's calm, treat, good boy. And we do that over and over and over, 30 to 40 times. And after 30 to 40 times, we leave. We get in our car and we leave, go home. And that's it, and that's all we did for the day. And the next day we come back and we do the same thing. We start off at 100 feet, and we let our dog look at the dogs in the dog park, and every time they look, good boy, that's a treat. He looks at them, good boy, give him a treat. And I like to use the dog park like this because at least all the dog parks I have been to are fenced in, so you know those dogs aren't going to come running up to yours. You have kind of, that fence gives you a safety barrier. And that's important because after about a week or 2 weeks, however, you gotta kind of be the judge of your dog's pace. Then what you're going to do is you're going to move up. So now instead of being at 100 feet, now you're at 90 feet with your dog. Okay, and now you do the same thing at 90 feet. Your dog looks over, he's calm, treat. He looks over, calm, treat. And you do this for a week. And then the next week you move up to 80 feet, then to 70 feet, and then each week you move up, or whatever the time is that it takes. The longer that the leash aggression has been occurring, the longer it's going to take to fix. But what we're doing here is we're teaching the dog that whatever it is that you have that fear of, because remember, leash aggression is generally an underlying fear, it's not so scary. In fact, it's a good thing. The key, though, is down here. We can only reward the dog when they are behaving. And if we let the dog react and go over that threshold where they become aggressive, then we're moving too fast. And not only are we moving too fast, we're undoing all the work we've just done. Okay? So it's very important that we stay under there and you go slow. You cannot force leash aggression. You have to go slow. You have to. You're dealing with a fearful dog, essentially. So trying to force them to get over something, it won't work. When you try to force them, you're going to get a fight. You're going to get your dog to bite somebody, which we don't want. So this is leash aggression, right? And with an underlying fear condition, we want to very slowly get the dog used to seeing that, hey, whatever it is that you think is so scary, and that's what you want to attack and keep away, is really not that scary, okay? So this is how we work with actual leash aggression. Now, leash aggression is not as common as leash reactivity. People call me, and I will go meet their dogs, we'll meet at the park, and they'll say, I have this aggressive dog, and he's horrible on the leash, but they go into the dog park with him, and other dogs approach him, and once the dogs get up to him, he's fine. Well, I don't call that leash aggression, I call it leash reactivity, and they're different. Reactivity. Okay? The reactivity is the dog is so overexcited, he can't control himself. But once he gets up to a dog, gets up to a person, he actually is okay. He stops barking, he stops lunging, he just wants to say hi. He's so excited though, and has so much energy, he can't control it. So, what we do for a dog that has leash reactivity is kind of a fun game. I call it the crazy walk. And here's how it works, okay? The crazy walk is similar to the dog park scenario. So we have the dog park over here, okay? Our little park's here with all the dogs, and our dog is very friendly and wants to get over there very badly. So we get out of the car and we start walking towards the dog park. And we start walking towards the dog park. Our dog sees a dog, and what happens? He starts pulling and gets excited and barking and lunging. So we are very calm. We don't say anything. There's no bad dog. There's no jerking on the leash. We simply turn around and we walk the opposite direction. And we walk the opposite direction until the dog is quiet. the second the dog is quiet. We turn back and we head towards the dog park. And we get a little closer this time. And now we're getting closer, and now the dog starts to react again. And he starts pulling and lunging and barking because he's so excited. And what do? We stay completely calm. The second he starts reacting, we're going back this way. The second he's quiet, okay, now we go back towards the park. He barks again, we were almost there. And then finally we get to the dog park. So this is kind of the crazy walk, alright? We're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But what we're teaching the dog is that when you're quiet, you go forward. And when you bark, or are obnoxious and crazy, you go back. Okay? It's a crazy walk, but it works. We don't need treats for this because the dog's reward is simply getting what he wants. He wants to go into the dog park. He wants to play. He wants to go say hi. Now, I use this example with the dog park. You can do this crazy walk with anything. My dog loves to meet people on walks. Particularly when it's somebody he knows and we're maybe a block away and he recognizes them, he will start to whine. He won't bark or pull, but he'll whine. And I don't let that happen because it's for the breed of dog I have a Rottweiler. It's very easy for that to get misconstrued by somebody else as, oh, he's barking at me, he's growling. So I just don't take any chances. I like to just teach him, be quiet when you're approaching people. Plus, it just makes other people nervous to have a large dog, making sounds as he's walking towards them. So I do the crazy walk with that. He starts to whine, we turn around and we walk away. The second he's quiet, we go back. And then once he gets to the person, he's happy and wants to say hi to them, okay? But the crazy walk, the key to this is you have to be quick, all right? If you haven't already, you need to watch the video on the 2-second rule as to why this is so important, okay? The second that your dog is quiet, you go forward. The second he starts whining and being obnoxious, you go backwards. When he's quiet, he gets what he wants. We don't need treats. His reward is simply getting to go say hi, getting to see whoever he wants. When he barks and is obnoxious, he goes away from what he wants, right? He is learning, your dog is going to be choosing the behavior. He's choosing to be quiet. He's choosing to have self-control. And that's what we want. That's why we don't put him on a shock collar or on a prong collar and just force him to do what we want, because he's not learning anything. He's not making decisions that way. This way, he's actually has to make the decision to remain calm and not, be obnoxious and crazy. So this is for leash reactivity, okay? Two things here. The leash aggression for dogs that actually have fear-based aggression. Remember to watch the fear-based video because we treat them very, very similar. For leash reactivity though, and most dogs, this is actually what, when people say they have leash aggression issues, this is actually what it really is. I would say probably 7 out of 10 dogs that I see, when someone calls me and says my dog has leash aggression, it's actually leash reactivity. The other 3 dogs are actually aggressive because there's some sort of fear there. Okay, so analyze what the situation is for your dog. Remember about the equipment, all right? For anything, if you're using a prong collar or shock collar, choke chain, immediately get rid of that. We get them onto a harness or just a regular flat collar. And then accordingly, whether it's leash aggression or leash reactivity, follow these steps to solve it. Puppy biting is a perfectly normal behavior. And if your puppy's not biting you, you have a problem. Now, it's a normal behavior, but it's not